So, Godzilla the Planet Eater, the third and final film in the Godzilla anime trilogy that we finally got on Netflix worldwide, January 2019. I think the film originally came out in Japan last year, December-ish, so that same couple month waiting period to finally see the film on a streaming platform globally. And I wish that the other two films, I should say, were like this one. I think that this is arguably the best film of the trilogy. The last film, of course, we had to wait to get something a little bit more interesting. Now, I respect the other two films being the first two in a new kind of era of Godzilla film that we haven't seen before. We haven't seen an anime like this, like a Godzilla anime, so it's fine. It's experimental. They were the first of their kind, but the story and pacing of the first two films just weren't quite enough to keep me fully engaged. The first one was fine. City on the Edge of Battle, though, being so identical to the first film and not really doing too much differently, and then giving us the letdown of not actually getting Mechagodzilla in a film that we were going to get Mechagodzilla in, not great. But the third film, The Promise of Ghidorah, let's get into that. The story is way better, in my opinion. I'll try not to spoil it in case anybody hasn't watched it yet too badly, but I can't promise to not just go on a tangent about something. So if you don't want any spoilers, then just probably shouldn't watch this at this point. But the pacing of this film is so much better than the other ones. I'm not going to say there is no dead spots where you're just kind of bored watching it. There's significantly less. I didn't feel bored at any point watching this film. Going back and watching the first two the night before this came out, I just found myself getting bored watching them when nothing was really truly engaging happening. Just the characters weren't interesting enough. The scenes and shots that were composed through the animation just weren't enticing enough. It just gets boring when there's not really anything happening on screen, which is, I think, that's something that this film does better. At this point, the characters were developed enough or changing enough in the story to where any of the character interactions were actually interesting. It's something new, something we haven't seen before, like a deeper insight into the Earth natives that are there, and they're actually pretty cool. They have more depth than the other films because we actually get to see the twins engaging with Haruo and trying to actually fit into their society and talk with the newcomers to New Earth. So I think that's great. We get to see actual character development for the twins and the other Earth natives that we didn't get to see before. I can't really remember their species name right now, so don't expect me to remember that at any time again. But seeing them actually have a real personality and the true differences between the twins, and that they're afraid of things, they're not just these crazy tribal warriors, they're actually people with advanced communication skills. They have full conversations with people now, so that's great. Metaphys and his plot, watching that all develop is great. This is probably where I'm gonna have to end up spoiling things anyway, so we're just gonna say whatever. The fact that he's the one ushering in Ghidorah to come to Earth, and he's trying to use Haruo as the catalyst for that. My cat is messing with my camera. Okay. Using Haruo as the catalyst for trying to usher in Ghidorah and basically removing him from power by instating this new religious fad within the survivors of the Godzilla City attack. That's cool. That's really enticing. Kind of highlights just how much people will believe in something in times of desperation and hopelessness. So that's cool that they're playing on that aspect, and then revealing that the god that the Exif have been worshiping all along was Ghidorah, and Ghidorah was their planetary destroyer. Them basically. I'm busy. Okay. Seeing that they worship Ghidorah, even though he's the one that destroyed their planet, and then they just kind of like went to blindly worshiping and following him and going planet to planet and using Ghidorah to drain the life force, trying to get closer to him in that aspect, in the same way that the Blisaladu were so willing to just sacrifice themselves to their created god of Mechagodzilla City. We get to see that, like, those two species of aliens, how different they might have been originally. We kind of see that they almost had the same intentions all along, just executed differently through science and religion. Even though the Exif, in the end, their religion wasn't necessarily just blind faith, it was actually rooted in science, just deceiving everyone, thinking that it was just a fabrication almost. So tricking the humans into basically sacrificing themselves to usher in the reign of Ghidorah on Earth, to basically drain the planet and Godzilla of its life force and destroy Earth, that came out of nowhere. And I think that level of depth and intensity is what the other two movies in the franchise or the series needed to keep them interesting. Whereas this is something new, and it's actually exciting, so I was engaged the entire time, and I think that's why I like this movie so much. The fact that all of this was happening just to bring Ghidorah to Earth, where they tried to make the selling point of this movie that Godzilla actually is going to fight somebody for once in a Godzilla series. Crazy. So that's awesome. And then when we actually get to the point where Ghidorah is coming to Earth through the portals, and the explanation of why Godzilla can't fight Ghidorah, because Ghidorah exists physically in an alternate universe and metaphysically within the universe that we're familiar with. That was weird and crazy and something so unique and nothing like we've ever seen before that I was just like, wow, this is pretty damn cool. I'm okay with this. Like, everything is so absurd at this point because it's an anime that it's fine. And that Metaphys is the one ushering this in with his revived medallion that he used the nanometal from the other movie to repair, and Haro has to stop him and all that. That's the level of excitement and depth and correlation between the human characters and the monster characters that everything else needed, and that's why I like this movie so much in comparison to the other two. I'm not going to say that this movie is fantastic. It's not the best movie we've seen in a while, but it's way better than the other two that we've gotten, and I think that everybody's going to enjoy this one, or should have enjoyed this one more than those other two. Now, the fact that we never really see all of Ghidorah besides like his shadows and things like that, that's a little disappointing, but it's understandable because the science from the way that they were introducing him wouldn't have allowed it unless Godzilla were to kill Ghidorah. But in the end, we see Ghidorah retreat back into the portals once the connection is broken, and then when Ghidorah is in our universe, he's actually in our universe physically, and Godzilla can't harm him again, and he starts to like disintegrate himself to retreat. So that's fine. I would have liked to see some crazy thing like Godzilla pull Ghidorah through the portal and kill him. That would have just been wild. But that kills that plot point where Ghidorah is going to exist out there still consuming other planets, being the Planet Eater. That's fine. And then everything wrapping up with the story wrapping up. Honestly, the humans got what they wanted. They found a habitable place. They integrate into society with the Earth natives, and that's cool. That's fine. That's what most of humanity wanted, which is fine. But Haruo, obviously, it gets revealed that he was never really interested in reclaiming Earth. He was only ever interested in defeating Godzilla. So in the end, when they don't end up defeating Godzilla, he ends up killing himself. Like, okay, congratulations. There was all this crazy montage with you and your people integrating into the native society, and it looks like one of the twins is pregnant with your child, and then you decide to not only kill yourself, but I can't remember her name, but the girl who's incapacitated from the nanometal. Yes, that was weird. I didn't vibe too hard with that. That just kind of confused me. Like, oh, I'll never beat Godzilla and the humans are happy now. Better die. Why? Like, you can't just deal with the fact that Godzilla's not gonna get killed. You can't just deal with the fact that humans are back on Earth and are happy now, even though, oh, hello, things are different. I think that he should have just been fine and continued on, but I guess if they wanted to wrap up a story about Haruo, the only way to do that without killing Godzilla would be to kill him. And I think that that's just the decision that they ultimately went with, and it would have made more sense for Haruo to die to end the trilogy than Godzilla, when Godzilla's the ruler of Earth, basically. So, I don't know. Overall, I think the movie was way better than the other two, as I've expressed so many times. Just with the story not being boring, though it was way more enticing. I think it was more intense and more engaging, and the characters felt more natural, and they had more depth, and there was just actually stuff going on that was interesting. So that was cool. And then Godzilla fighting Ghidorah, that's cool. That's fine. I mean, we finally get to see Godzilla actually fight somebody in this franchise that's not him just getting shot at by vehicles and getting buried in rocks and stuff. So mixing it up a little bit there, that helps. And then Ghidorah not dying, that's whatever. I mean, we're used to Ghidorah and just running away at the end of movies anyways. I don't know. I think the movie was way better than the other two. I'm not saying the movie was great by any means, but it's definitely the best in the trilogy to me, and I think that everybody else will like it more than the other two. Is it worth, if you passed the other two movies and didn't watch them and were waiting for this one to see how it was, is it worth it for you to go and watch the other two just to watch this one? Maybe. Maybe. The other two movies still aren't fantastic. They're unique, but they're not great. This one is actually good in comparison, so I think that if you are curious now that this movie has come out and it's better than the other two, if it was a flop, maybe not, maybe don't go back, but if you're interested in watching this film, then I would definitely say go back and watch the other two and then watch this one and then just get the whole experience. So that's gonna be it for my thoughts on the final movie in this trilogy. I don't know if we're ever gonna get anything like this again from Toho. We might, if they, feel like this was successful enough. I wouldn't be opposed to it, just maybe something not as extreme, like a 20,000 year in the future movie. Toning it down a little bit would be awesome. But that's going to be it, guys. Let me know what you thought of Godzilla the Planet Eater, or of the trilogy as a whole now that it's finished. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I appreciate it a lot. As always, liking, commenting, and sharing really helps out my channel. And make sure you're subscribed if you want to stay up to date on the latest kaiju news and crisp reviews.